Welcome to part 1 of our Windows 11 tour, where we focus on the desktop and taskbar. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel or like this video for part 2 and any future technology goodness. Hey everybody, Alex Tkach here from Fuzzy Cube Entertainment, and today we're going to do a deep dive into Windows 11. So for those of you that don't pay attention to things that are going on in technology, about a month and a half ago, Microsoft had done a soft release and a debut demo talking about Windows 11 with the anticipation of its final release coming up in the fall. Now, that being said, anybody that's a tech enthusiast that wants to get their hands on this early can just take any normal Windows 10 machine and sign up for the early preview release channels, and then you can have access. Right now, I do believe that the only channel that has access right now is going to be the developer channels. So if you are tied to your machine or aren't really quick on doing formats and getting back up again, I would probably wait until it's at least in the beta preview before jumping in. But those of you that want to dive 2 feet first, just like me, go ahead and sign up for that. And this is how you do it. So to get access to the early builds of Windows 11, what you're going to need to do from your Windows 10 PC is just hit the Windows key to do a quick search and type in Insider. And you're going to see this Windows Insider Program Settings. Going into there, it's going to give you some options of which one you want to enroll in after it's done searching. So I'll just give it a moment. And then this is where you have some options. So I'm going to go see options. As you can see, I'm already set for beta on this device, but this is where you're going to turn this on, and you can actually make some adjustments and sign up for the dev or become insider would be another option to give you some more information on how you want to register or set up your device. But to make a long story short, once you register, if you register for the dev builds, what's going to happen is it's going to inevitably download an update. It's going to do an install and cut you over to Windows 11. And again, as I said before, my recommendation is once you're on there, if you're not super tied to your machine or you don't think you're going to go back to Windows 10, is to do a fresh install of Windows 11 after that. That way you're not carrying over any registry keys or any other values from Windows 10 to Windows 11, and you're actually going to get a pure build. So you should have a more stable experience overall. But for the purpose of this demo, though, we do have the preview build on here. So let's have a look. We'll do WinVer just to show everybody where we are. And as you can see, we're on build 21H2, so OS build 2200. I just did a cumulative update, so it should be most up to date that it can be on Windows 11 Business. So with any Windows operating system, I like to start when it comes to the taskbar. So those of you that are familiar with Windows 10, you still have your Cortana Smart Search. You can still hit the Windows key to launch that. Look for any programs you might be trying to launch or anything like that. Any files that might be on your OneDrive. You're going to be able to surface them this way. Once you type something into the search, though, they have this little option or button here for giving feedback to Microsoft. Lately, in the last couple of years, Microsoft's been really big on crowdsourcing information and feedback and trying to get a better handle on what folks want to see more in features, what features just aren't hitting their mark. And this is just kind of an evolution on that process. So definitely check that out. If you have any ideas for Windows 11, I would definitely toss them in here and give that feedback. But when you go over to the taskbar right here on the right-hand side, you normally had your quick actions and notifications pane. When you clicked on this with Windows 10, clicking on your notification pane now, it shows that I'm in Do Not Disturb mode. That's what the moon means, and it's doing this because I am recording through Teams right now. But clicking on that, it's going to give you your calendar now, where you can quickly go through, find date you want to do something, whatever the case may be, as well as your notification pane. So any notifications that might deal with any applications or emails or anything like that will show up. And of course, in typical fashion, you can just hit clear all to clear that out. Right clicking on that area of the taskbar here will allow you to adjust your date and time as well as your notification settings. Clicking on the battery options here, this is going to give you what your quick access panel used to be when you clicked on the bottom right hand corner on Windows 10. So all these quick action buttons are still here. You can still turn things on or off like Bluetooth, airplane mode, Wi-Fi, all that fun stuff, as well as settings, which will take you to the notifications or all settings for Windows 10. But if you click on the little pencil here, or you can actually right click anywhere and edit quick settings, and you can quickly unpin or pin any new ones that you want to have on here, which is a pretty nifty feature. You still have your keyboard language, and it tells you a nice convenient shortcut key. So Windows key and spacebar will toggle back between languages, as well as your microphones and settings for what permissions exist. So right now Windows is telling me that there are apps that are using my microphone currently, and of course Teams is one of them because we're doing this recording. So that's a nice feature I find within Windows to give a little bit of transparency to what software might be using the hardware on your device. You do have your on-screen touch keyboard options right here, and that was very similar to what you had in Windows 10. And of course your OneDrive and your system tray, and everything's going to show up in here. All your familiar apps like the Xbox app, the Windows Store, all that stuff is still in here. You can still right click on any application and you're still going to get a list of recently used web browsers, files, things like that are going to show up. And of course, if you right click anywhere in open space, you can get into your taskbar settings, which will give you a little bit more control on things and features that you want to see showing up within your taskbar. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. So the other added feature I find when it comes to Windows, well, this is now in Windows 10 too as well, if you've been keeping up to date with any of the updates, but the use of emojis. So the use of emojis has become very, very big over the last several years. They're not just used for conveying an emotion or a message in a conversation that might be text-based, but you can use them for searchable identifiers in documents, in settings and menus and things like that. To access the emoji tray within Windows 11, it's going to be the same shortcut as Windows 10. So Windows key period is going to launch that. And then this is where you can quickly see the emojis area, GIFs, Calmojis, symbols, and more. The symbols basically hook into ASCII characters that you would have had to use ASCII commands to surface before, but now you can get at them with a click of a button. And as you can see, if we go over to the emoji section, there's a lot of emojis here. And those of you that have also been paying attention to what Microsoft's been releasing lately, they were talking about with their new fluid design, that they're releasing a whole SKU of other emojis and 3D emojis and things like that. So this is an area of things that I'm going to expect to really take off, and we're going to see a lot more out of as time goes on. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, those of you that remember when emojis first came out on smartphones and cell phones during the early days of text messaging, they've come a long, long way since then. So most of these are just applications that I pinned, but there are some universal ones that are put onto the Windows taskbar for you. Mainly the first one is going to be your widgets. So clicking on that, we are seeing a return to widgets. So you saw a little bit about this in Windows 10, but they kind of combined it all into the Cortana Smart Search area of things. Clicking on the widget's going to allow you to either search the web at the top, as well as kind of surface some any news articles, things like that that you may have set up within your widgets themselves. And if you go over here to your multitasking area, clicking on that is going to show your taskbar. So if there's any running programs, it's going to actually list them in here. It's going to list, I believe, the top 5, but there's an actual setting within Windows that allows you to change what it's actually displaying when you're using that feature and what the different desktops might possibly do. We still see a search because the search is still the backbone of Windows, in my opinion, and honestly the backbone of the way that we interact with the online world nowadays. Search is just so incredibly important. Those of you that have really taken a deep dive into Windows 10 may have realized that, you're not just searching for things on the web using search. You're not just searching your OneDrive, but you're also searching settings. You can hit the search button or the Windows key, which also will point that up, and then you can go type in the settings you want. So maybe it's trackpad gestures, maybe it's notifications, whatever the case may be, you can do that right from within the search, which makes it an incredibly powerful tool that I really implore people to really understand and kind of wrap up into the way they day-to-day interactions with their devices. Now, clicking on your Windows button, what this used to do on Windows 10 and all the older versions of Windows is it would do your program files and would pull up a list of all the programs you have installed. Typically, you would see this in the left-hand corner here. Now, one change with Windows 11 is it's got that very much a Ubuntu feel, and dare I see something that's a little bit closer to OS X or something like that, where the idea is it's a design that's fluid that'll expand as things grow. So if I were to add a bunch of more task tray icons and things like that across the bottom, you're going to see this Windows icon grow, 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 and bump and bump and bump. But it's going to try to center everything. Clicking on that still gives you all your program files. So all you can see is all that. You can scroll up and down to see a list of apps. So something very similar that we're seeing in other modern operating systems. And then of course, all apps is going to give you that holistic view of all the apps that might possibly be installed on your computer. Right-clicking on the Windows button here is going to give you a list of things you can access right from within that area. So your apps and features, your mobility center, power options, which hooks into the settings, your event viewer logs, system, device manager, network connections, and more. Now, one thing I want to point out here within these options, though, is going to be the system. So those of you that may have used Windows 10 search to look up the name of your PC or any information around your PC might have just hit the search button and typed in PC, and you would say my PC is one of those options. You're not seeing that same type of information that you would before on Windows 10. Where they've buried that in Windows 11 is under your system. So clicking on system is going to give you your system information. So me opening this up, this is where I'm going to be able to see the name of my device right here and what it is, as well as other system settings. I can go into about, and this is going to give me that more granular information. So the name of my PC, its specs. As you can see, it's on Windows 11 Business 21H2, as I discussed before. And then as well as support information. And further down, there's another feature in here for product key and activation. So you can see this is an active state, and under subscriptions, an active subscription with Windows 11 Business subscription is active. I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say that this stuff here is probably going to apply more to the Windows PCs, cloud PCs that Microsoft discussed several weeks ago. But nonetheless, this is an area of interest to see Windows moving towards a more of a subscription-based service, which if they do, it wouldn't be that surprising considering the direction they've gone with their Office product suite. So also right clicking on here, you can have access to your Windows terminal. So this is another exciting change that they've done. Launching this is going to basically be your equivalent of PowerShell. So it's more of a modern PowerShell, but it's also tabified. So you can actually have different tabs running where you can be running your different PowerShell commands and command line prompts within Windows 10, which I thought was a pretty nifty feature. Something a little bit closer to a terminal you'd find in Linux or something like that, in my opinion anyway.
And that's it for part 1, folks. Don't forget to like this video or subscribe to get notified for part 2, where we take a tour of the settings that underpin Windows 11. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you next time.